Hey guys, and welcome back to my channel. I don't know what day this is because I lost this video when I was transferring it to my computer and I had to do it again. But I think we're on like, I don't know, day 8, 9, 10, somewhere in that realm. We are close to the end and this has been so much fun. Thank you so much for letting me do this. If you want to try out this zombie glam stitched up chick, stay tuned for the tutorial, but before you leave, make sure you subscribe to my channel. Please give this video a big thumbs up, share it if you want to. You know that always helps me out and I love it when you do. And if you hit the bell, you'll get notifications anytime I post new videos. Alright guys, let's roll right into this tutorial. Okay, so the first thing you're going to want to do is figure out which side's going to be your zombie side and which side's going to be your glam side. So obviously this side's going to be my glam because I've already got it done. You may notice a different photo in the thumbnail of how I look because I lost this when I tried to transfer it. So I'm doing this a second time and this is the eye look that I wore to work today. It's kind of fitting though, right? Little Frankenstein eye. We're going to do a little Frankenstein with our zombie. Alright, let's go. So I'm just going to take an eyeliner pencil. You can use whatever you want. And I'm just going to put a line down where I want to cut myself in half. The best thing for this though is to keep your nose on one side so you don't really have to worry about how the staples are going to lay across that. You can totally put your nose in there too if you want to, but I'm just there trying to think of how that would come out easier. I will go over the lip a little bit because I feel like that would be an easy stitch. And then you can just come across your chest as far down as you want to go. This is just going to be your guideline so that you know where your zombie is and where your glam is. So if you don't have a glam side done, go ahead and do that now. Put your foundation, eyebrow, however you like to do it. Now I'm going to use my Miron makeup paint palette. You can use any kind of paint you want. It does not have to be Miron, but this is who I own and who I love. It's my favorite. And we are gonna go ahead and start to zombie ourselves up on our zombie side. I'm gonna take a makeup sponge and I'm just gonna dip that directly into some white. We're gonna start with white, then we're gonna add a little bit of gray and a little bit of black just to, you know, get that depth that I love doing. And we're just gonna go right up to that line. It's okay if you go over a little bit, just as long as you can still kind of see where you are. So now that I have pretty much a white tone down, we don't want to be white because the zombie is not white, so I'm going to go in with a little bit of gray paint and I'm just going to start to like contour the body where I would normally put contour with makeup. And this is just going to help, again, give a little bit of dimension and add a little bit of color so we're not so pasty. And then when you go in with a little bit of black paint, you really want to be light-handed with this because you can get crazy and go overboard. But again, just at the darkest points, I'm just going to add a little bit of that black. And again, I'm not going to be overly worried about it because we're going to go in with powder, but this is just to get a little bit of color and change in the skin. And just to make sure that all of this stays and does not move, we're going to add some translucent setting powder. Now going into our Jaclyn Hill Volume 2 by Morphe palette, we are going to pick up the black shadow, which is called Temptress. And I'm just going to use a Morphe M330 brush for that. And I'm just going to start contouring in some areas. Start at the darkest point, which is going to be by your hairline, and then just bring that out so it lightens as you come out and you don't have as much product on the brush. I want to make myself look skinnier than I am because I want the zombie to look frail and dead-like. So I'm going to just kind of shift my body so that those points that go in are there and I know where to kind of shade and put some more powder. And then we're also going to go back in and highlight with some white paint to just help make your eye get tricked into thinking that you're skinnier than you are in some areas. See how we've made the shape of a bone right here? So we're gonna highlight that. That just looks freaky, doesn't it? And we're gonna highlight that so that it looks more prominent and up when the eye is looking at it between the dark shades, and it's gonna look like a skinny, nasty bone sticking out of our body. Gross! I'm just gonna black out a little bit of my arm on the back side too, and that'll trick the eye as well. And then lastly, we're just going to black out the eye and just make it really look sunken, but also like this blown out big black smoky eye to kind of go with our glam eye. From Miron, I'm going to take this Signature 16 size brush and I'm going to go into some white paint. If you don't have any white paint and you want to highlight, you can just use your regular concealer as long as it's light enough. So where I'm going to highlight is just going to be right up here. I'm going to highlight right across here. I'm going to highlight a little bit under here. A little bit on the chin. And we want to get that weird bone we created. I'm going to blend all this out. I'm just putting it here so you guys can see where we're going. So now we're going to start our blood and staples, and we're almost there, guys. I'm just going to take a paintbrush that I got at the craft store. I don't know a size because it does not say. And I'm going to dip into a bright red base paint. And we're going to go directly across the line that we drew in the beginning. Now we have this big ugly bruise or this big ugly cut, and it looks plain and gross and we just don't love it. And that's okay, because again, you have to trust the process. We are going back into our Jaclyn Hill Volume 2 by Morphe palette. You don't need this palette, just whatever palette that has a similar color. And we need to bruise up our side that's glam, so it looks like the skin was irritated and bruised up pretty well. So on this rounded Morphe brush, it doesn't have a number on it anymore, sorry. I'm gonna pick up a little bit of Heart On, which is kind of a red, and I'm just gonna kind of lightly dust that next to the line. And we don't want it to be like deep red, we just want very, very small dusting of that all the way down. And we're gonna do that on both sides. Okay, now we got some irritated skin. I'm gonna take a small paintbrush and I'm actually gonna use this to pick up some black powder. And I'm gonna use that to pick up some black powder from my Jaclyn Hill palette. And I'm gonna use that to kind of dust into the black, to kind of dust into our blood. And I'm only gonna kind of keep that on one side, and it's gonna be the side that's closer to the glam side, because our blood isn't bright red and I kind of want a little bit of shadowing, especially when we have those staples running across the two sides. Now that we have our bruising and our shadowing inside of our blood, we need to add a little highlight to the skin so that they look like they're being pulled up from the staples. And in order to do that, we're going to use white because, as we've said in previous videos, black makes things look far away and deep, and white brings them up to the top. We're gonna get a small detail brush. If it focuses, you might be able to see it. And again, I just got this at a craft store. It's a 4, if that helps. I don't know if it will, but you know. Then we'll go into our white again. And then just as close as you can to the bloodline itself without going in the blood on both sides, you're going to make straight lines down following that. So now that we've added our highlight, we're gonna add our dots where the staples are gonna hit. So again, I'm gonna use another paintbrush. This one's pretty rounded and it's about the size that I wanna use. I'm gonna go ahead in my Jaclyn Hill Volume 2 palette again to pick up that black powder. And I'm just gonna do a dot on each side. That's where the staple is gonna hit. And the reason I do it in the powder versus the paint, when you dab, it leaves like, see how it kind of like bounces and leaves, it fades in the color. That's really gonna help with the illusion that there's an actual staple there versus just black paint just slapped on there dark as hell. And then you don't have to have these really close. You can line them up however you choose. Space them further apart or really close together. It doesn't matter. Now taking another pretty thin, I would say medium-sized paintbrush. This one happens to be a one liner from Color by Me. We're gonna go back into our black face paint and load up our brush, and we're just going to connect the dots. Basically want to go from the middle of the dot you made to the middle of the dot across from it. So now we have to create a little dimension and make these staples not look so flat. So with a nice thin paintbrush, we're gonna go back into our white and we're just gonna hit the middle, just the middle of each one of those staples. And just adding that little bit of white to each staple, it makes the light just seem like it's hitting the top of it and just really brings it to life. Now, if you find that any of your dots, you went over them too much with the black paint, now's the time to go back in and add a little bit of black shadow to those just to fix them up a little bit. If not, let's go to the next step. So now I'm gonna take some Miron lip cream, and this is in Autumn Sun, and I'm just gonna line my Glam lights with that. My Glam lights? My Glam lips. And add a wig, let your hair down however you want to play this up, and there she is. Yes, yes, we love her. She's stunning. Yes. Alright guys, if you decide to use this tutorial and create your own zombie glam queen, feel free to tag me on Instagram or Twitter. My name is right here. It's the same at both, so I can show you off to all my followers. Thank you so much. I don't even know what day we're on anymore, especially now that I've done this one twice. I'm so mad at my SD card. It's whatever. I got to do this fantastic Frankenstein eye and show it to you guys in this video, so there's that. Stay tuned for tomorrow's video. We are almost through all 13 spooky tutorials. I cannot even believe it. Thank you so much for being here. I love you, and I'll see you all tomorrow.